The median house price in Sydney just crossed $1.24 million. Let that number sit with you for a moment. $1,240,000 to own a house in a city where the commute alone takes years off your life. And the closest thing to nature is the potted plant your neighbour keeps on the balcony of their $800,000 apartment. Meanwhile, 3 hours in almost any direction from Sydney, there are towns in New South Wales where you can buy a 3-bedroom house with a garden for less than a Sydney parking space costs, and where the lifestyle is so good that people who discover these places genuinely cannot understand why everyone has not already moved there. So subscribe and let's start. Number 10. Southwest Rocks. The mid-north coast beach town where retirees outnumber tourists and the median house price is half of Sydney. Southwest Rocks sits on the Macleay River mouth on the mid-north coast of New South Wales, approximately 440 kilometres north of Sydney. The predominant age group in the town is 60 to 69 years, which tells you immediately that retirees have already discovered this place. The question is, why more have not followed? The median house price in Southwest Rocks is approximately $740,000, which is expensive by regional standards, but represents a saving of roughly $500,000 compared to the Sydney median. For that money, you get a coastal town with some of the most spectacular beaches on the east coast of Australia, and none of the overcrowding that defines more popular coastal destinations. The town is anchored by Trial Bay Jail, a 19th century prison built from local granite that sits on a headland overlooking a crescent-shaped beach of such beauty that it regularly appears in lists of Australia's best beaches without anyone outside the region paying attention. The jail was originally constructed in the 1870s and 80s using convict labour, intended to house prisoners who would work on the nearby Breakwater project. The Breakwater was never completed. The jail was closed, reopened during World War I as an internment camp for German nationals, and then closed again. Today, it is a heritage-listed ruin that you can walk through at sunset while watching whales migrate past the headland. The beaches at Southwest Rocks include Horseshoe Bay, Trial Bay, and the remarkable Smoky Beach in Hat Head National Park to the south. Fish Rock Cave, located off the coast, is considered one of the top 10 dive sites in Australia, attracting divers from around the world to swim with grey nurse sharks in an underwater cave system. The town has a population of approximately 4,500 people, which is large enough to support essential services, including a medical centre, pharmacies, supermarkets, and a golf club, but small enough that the pace of life remains genuinely relaxed. The over 55 retirement community, known as the Links, has recently been developed in Southwest Rocks, offering purpose-built Hampton-style homes with no entrance or exit fees, no stamp duty, and residents keep 100% of their capital gains. This is a relatively new model in regional NSW retirement living that eliminates many of the financial traps associated with traditional retirement villages. For retirees concerned about healthcare access, the Kempsey District Hospital is approximately 30 minutes south, and the Port Macquarie Base Hospital, a Level 5 facility with a 24-hour emergency department, is approximately 1 hour north. Number 9. Eden. The Sapphire Coast whaling town that reinvented itself as the most affordable coastal retirement destination in the state. Eden sits at the southern end of the New South Wales coast, on the shores of Twofold Bay, approximately 470 kilometres south of Sydney. It is the last significant town before the Victorian border, which means it has been overlooked by virtually everyone who thinks of the NSW coast as the stretch between Sydney and the Gold Coast. That oversight is your opportunity. The median house price in the Bega Valley, which includes Eden and the surrounding Sapphire Coast towns, is approximately $720,000, making it one of the most affordable coastal markets in the state. Eden's history is extraordinary. It was one of Australia's last active whaling stations, operating until 1929, and the town's relationship with killer whales that assisted human whalers in hunting baleen whales is one of the most remarkable stories in Australian natural history. The Eden Killer Whale Museum tells this story through the preserved skeleton of Old Tom, the most famous of the orcas that would herd baleen whales into Twofold Bay for the human whalers in exchange for a share of the catch. This cooperative relationship between humans and wild orcas lasted for decades and has no parallel anywhere else in the world. Today, Eden is reinventing itself around its deep water port, which received a $20 million upgrade as part of the NSW government's Regional Infrastructure Program. Cruise ships now dock at Eden, bringing tourists and economic activity to a town that had been in gradual decline since the timber industry contracted. The surrounding Bega Valley produces some of the finest dairy, cheese, and oyster products in Australia. The Sapphire Coast itself, stretching from Mudgee to the Victorian border, is a landscape of pristine beaches, coastal lagoons, old-growth forest, and dramatic headlands that rivals anything on the more famous North Coast. The Ben Boyd National Park, which flanks Eden to the north and south, contains the remarkable Boyd's Tower, a lighthouse that was never completed, standing on a headland above waters so clear that you can see the ocean floor from the clifftop. The Green Cape Lighthouse at the southern tip of the park offers accommodation in the heritage-listed keepers' cottages, where you can fall asleep to the sound of the Southern Ocean and wake up to views that stretch to the horizon in every direction. The food culture on the Sapphire Coast is genuinely excellent. The Bega Cheese Heritage Centre tells the story of one of Australia's most famous dairy brands. The oyster farms in Merimbula and Pambula produce some of the finest oysters in the country. Our local fishermen bring in catches of yellowfin tuna, snapper, and flathead that appear on restaurant menus hours after being pulled from the water. For retirees who value food, the Sapphire Coast offers a quality of produce and a dining culture that rivals areas 3 times the price. For retirees, Eden offers something rare on the NSW coast: genuine affordability in a setting of exceptional natural beauty. You can still find habitable houses in Eden for under $500,000, which is virtually impossible in any other coastal town in the state with equivalent scenery. The Southeast Regional Hospital in Bega, approximately 1 hour north, provides comprehensive medical services. The Sapphire Coast has a strong and growing retirement community. She, with the Bega Valley Shire, actively investing in age-friendly infrastructure, including walking paths, community centres, and health services. The climate is temperate, with warm summers and mild winters that rarely drop below freezing, and the region receives enough rainfall to keep the landscape green without the humidity that characterises the North Coast. Number 8. Mudgee, the wine country town where $700,000 buys a lifestyle that people in the Hunter Valley pay double for. Mudgee sits in the central west of New South Wales, approximately 260 kilometres northwest of Sydney, in a valley surrounded by rolling hills and some of the most productive wine country in Australia. The median house price is approximately $700,000, which sounds significant until you realise that equivalent wine country properties in the Hunter Valley, Orange, or anywhere in the Southern Highlands now cost considerably more. Mudgee offers the same lifestyle at a substantial discount and arguably with better wine. The town has over 40 cellar doors within a 30-minute drive, producing everything from Shiraz and Cabernet to Chardonnay and Riesling. The Mudgee wine region was the first in Australia to be fully organic certified, which gives it a marketing edge and a philosophical alignment with the kind of lifestyle that attracts retirees who care about food, environment, and community. The annual Mudgee Wine and Food Festival is one of the oldest in the country and draws visitors from across the state. Mudgee itself is a town of approximately 12,000 people, which makes it large enough to support a genuine town centre with quality restaurants, cafes, independent shops, a cinema, a library, and the Mudgee District Hospital. The community spirit is frequently described as palpable, with art shows, market days, farmers markets, and community events, creating a social calendar that keeps retirees engaged and connected. The Mudgee Readers Festival and the Mudgee Small Farm Field Days add cultural depth to what might otherwise be dismissed as just another country town. The housing stock in Mudgee ranges from heritage-listed cottages in the town centre to modern homes on larger blocks on the outskirts, to rural properties with acreage that allow for hobby farming, orchards, or simply the luxury of space. Properties with generous land sizes suitable for gardening or small-scale agriculture are common and affordable relative to comparable properties closer to Sydney. The town sits on the main Western Railway line, which provides a rail connection to Sydney and is also accessible by road via the Great Western Highway through Lithgow and then north. Number 7. Braidwood. The heritage classified town between Sydney and the coast that artists and retirees are quietly colonising. Braidwood is located in the southern tablelands of New South Wales, approximately 3 hours southwest of Sydney and just over 1 hour from Canberra. It was the first town in New South Wales to be listed on the State Heritage Register, which means its colonial buildings, rustic streetscapes, and rural beauty are legally protected from the kind of development that has destroyed the character of so many Australian country towns. The median house price is approximately $739,000, with properties ranging from heritage cottages in the town centre to rural blocks on the surrounding tablelands. The population of Braidwood is approximately 1,700 people, with the predominant age group being 70 to 79 years, which tells you that retirees have already identified this place as somewhere exceptional. The town has attracted a significant community of artists, writers, and craftspeople whose creative influence has generated events including the Festival of Braidwood, the airing of the quilts, and the Major Creek Festival. The main street is dotted with antique shops, charming country pubs, historic sites, and the Braidwood Bakery, whose pies and pastries are famous across the southern tablelands. Braidwood's proximity to Canberra is one of its great strategic advantages for retirees. The National Capital's hospitals, specialist medical services, airports, and cultural institutions are all within an easy drive, yet Braidwood itself maintains the character of a small rural village where people know each other's names and the pace of life is dictated by seasons rather than schedules. The historic Braidwood Town Walk takes visitors past 54 locations of interest, and stretching from Braidwood toward the south coast is the beautiful Monga National Park, which offers nature walks, horse riding, and picnicking in old-growth forest. Braidwood was also the backdrop for iconic Australian films, including Ned Kelly starring Mick Jagger, The Year My Voice Broke, and Flirting. The Summerfield Seniors Housing Project, located on Braidwood's urban outskirts alongside the town's main health facility, offers freehold property specifically designed for over 55s. These homes can be bought and sold on the open market, with a condition on the title that at least one household member must be 55 or older. This is a significantly more transparent and financially favourable arrangement than the deferred management fee model used by many corporate retirement villages. Number 6. Goulburn. The first inland city where $640,000 buys a home in a place with cathedrals, galleries, and train access to Sydney. Goulburn sits in the southern tablelands approximately 200 kilometres southwest of Sydney, and it holds the distinction of being Australia's first inland city, declared in 1863. The median house price is approximately $640,000, which represents a saving of roughly $600,000 compared to the Sydney median. For retirees, the value proposition is remarkable because Goulburn offers urban-level services and infrastructure at a regional price. The town is connected to Sydney by rail with regular train services that make day trips to the city entirely feasible. It is also approximately 1 hour from Canberra by road, giving residents access to 2 capital cities worth of airports, hospitals, and cultural institutions. Goulburn's own infrastructure includes a new, well-equipped hospital and several medical centres and specialists that provide comprehensive healthcare locally. The cultural life of Goulburn is surprisingly rich for a town of approximately 23,000 people. St. Saviour's Cathedral, built in 1874, is one of the finest Gothic Revival churches in regional Australia. The Goulburn Regional Art Gallery runs a public art walk that brings contemporary works into the streetscape. The Goulburn Rail Heritage Centre offers a deep dive into the locomotive history that propelled Inverell forward. Local farmers markets, arts festivals, and community events provide the kind of social infrastructure that keeps retirees engaged and prevents the isolation that can be a genuine risk in smaller towns. The housing market in Goulburn offers variety that Sydney residents can only dream of. Heritage-listed homes with original features, modern builds on generous blocks, and rural properties on the outskirts are all available at prices that would buy a studio apartment in many Sydney suburbs. The presence of serene parks, the iconic Big Merino statue, which stands 15 metres tall and has become one of the most photographed roadside attractions in the country, and the pastoral charm of the surrounding countryside create a setting that balances the convenience of a small city with the tranquility of the country. The Wallandilly River Walkway provides a 4.9-mile scenic trail through the heart of town, offering flat paths suitable for walking or cycling alongside the gentle flow of the river. Goulburn's strategic position on the Hume Highway and the main Southern Railway line means that it functions as a genuine gateway between Sydney and Canberra, with regular traffic and commerce that supports a level of economic activity unusual for a town of its size. The Goulburn Workers Club, the Soldiers Club, and numerous community organisations provide social infrastructure that is essential for retirees. The town hosts a farmers market, multiple annual festivals, and a thriving arts community that ensures there is always something happening for those who want to engage. Chris O'Keefe, who moved from Sydney to Goulburn with his wife to retire, has been quoted as saying that Goulburn is a city small enough to offer an inviting country atmosphere with friendly people, but also large enough to provide good entertainment. Our cultural and medical facilities. His experience is increasingly common. The Goulburn real estate market has seen consistent interest from Sydney downsizers and retirees who have done the mathematics and realised that the $600,000 difference between a Sydney house and a Goulburn house is not just a number on a spreadsheet. It is the difference between financial stress and financial freedom in retirement. Subscribe to show that these videos actually help and make sense. Or keep planning a retirement in a city where a one-bedroom apartment costs more than a house with a garden in any of these towns. The choice is yours, but we think the maths is obvious. Number 5. Tumut, the Snowy Mountains gateway town where $535,000 buys a house on the banks of a trout-filled river. Tumut sits in the foothills of the Snowy Mountains in the Riverina region of New South Wales, on the banks of the Tumut River, approximately 430 kilometres southwest of Sydney. The median house price is approximately $535,000, with annual growth of over 10%, indicating that the market is beginning to be discovered. The population is approximately 6,600 people. The median age is 42, and the town has the combination of natural beauty, community warmth, and affordable living that makes it one of the most compelling retirement propositions in the state. The Tumut River is famous for trout fishing, and the River Walk provides a scenic route along the banks that is perfectly suited to the kind of gentle daily exercise that keeps retirees healthy and happy. Blowering Dam, located just south of Tumut, is one of the largest reservoirs in NSW and offers fishing, boating, and camping in a setting of spectacular mountain scenery. For more ambitious outdoor activities, Kosciuszko National Park is within easy driving distance, offering everything from wildflower walks to alpine adventures depending on the season. Tumut has a hospital, medical centres, supermarkets, cafes, pubs, and the Tumut River Brewing Company, which produces craft beer on Kappa Street and has become a social hub for the town. The Falling Leaf Festival, held every April, features live music, markets, and food vendors in a celebration of autumn that draws visitors from across the region. The town is surrounded by some of the most beautiful agricultural and forestry country in NSW, and the autumn colours in the Tumut Valley are genuinely spectacular, rivaling anything in the Blue Mountains or the Southern Highlands. The area is experiencing significant infrastructure investment. The Talbingo Battery Energy Storage System, a $500 million project, is one of several snowy hydro-related developments that are bringing jobs and investment to the region. For retirees, this means improving infrastructure without the kind of overdevelopment that destroys the character of small towns. Tumut remains a genuinely small, genuinely friendly town where the main street is walkable, the air is clean, the water is fresh, and the cost of living is a fraction of what you would pay in any major city. The mortgage repayment on a median-priced house in Tumut is approximately $1,300 per month, which is just over 20% of the median household income. In Sydney, the equivalent figure is closer to 40%. That difference, sustained over 20 or 30 years of retirement, represents hundreds of thousands of dollars in savings that can be directed toward living rather than housing. Number 4. Armidale, the university town in the New England Highlands where intellectual life meets affordable living. Armidale sits in the New England region of New South Wales, approximately 570 kilometres north of Sydney, at an elevation of approximately 1,000 metres above sea level. The median house price is approximately $490,000, which makes it one of the most affordable towns in NSW with genuine urban-level amenities. The presence of the University of New England gives Armidale something that most regional towns lack entirely: a vibrant intellectual and cultural life that extends well beyond the campus. The university brings visiting academics, international students, cultural events, lectures, exhibitions, and a general atmosphere of curiosity and learning that enriches the entire community. Retirees who value intellectual stimulation, access to libraries, and opportunities for lifelong learning will find Armidale offers these things at a price point and in a setting that capital cities cannot match. The New England Regional Art Museum, known as NERAM, houses the Howard Hinton Collection and the Chandler Coventry Collection, two of the most significant regional art collections in Australia. Armidale's natural setting is exceptional. The town is surrounded by 4 national parks, including Cathedral Rock National Park, Oxley Wild Rivers National Park with its dramatic gorges and waterfalls, and the ancient rainforests of New England National Park, which is part of the Gondwana Rainforests of Australia World Heritage Area. The landscape around Armidale is a mosaic of open woodland, dramatic escarpments, and rolling pastoral country that changes character with every season. The autumn colours are famous, with the deciduous trees planted throughout the town and surrounding countryside turning gold, red, and amber in April and May. The climate in Armidale is genuinely 4 seasons, which is rare in NSW. Summers are mild, rarely exceeding 33 degrees Celsius, and winters are cold with frequent frosts and occasional snow. So this is a selling point for retirees who have spent decades enduring the humid summers of coastal NSW or the baking heat of Western Sydney. The cool climate also supports a wine industry, with several cool climate vineyards producing excellent wines in the surrounding region. Healthcare in Armidale is well served by the Armidale Rural Referral Hospital, which provides comprehensive medical services including emergency care, surgery, and specialist clinics. The town has multiple medical practices, dental surgeries, and allied health services. For retirees concerned about access to specialist care, Armidale is connected to Tamworth by road and rail, where the Tamworth Hospital provides additional specialist services. The Armidale Regional Airport also provides flights to Sydney, and making it possible to access metropolitan specialist care without the exhausting drive down the New England Highway. The social infrastructure in Armidale is remarkably strong for a town of approximately 25,000 people. The Armidale Club, the New England Club, the Golf Club, and numerous community organizations provide opportunities for social connection that are essential for mental health in retirement. The weekly farmers market on the mall is a social event as much as a shopping opportunity, and the university's continuing education programs offer retirees access to courses, lectures, and workshops that keep the mind active and engaged. This is a town where you can attend a lecture on philosophy in the morning, walk through a World Heritage rainforest in the afternoon, and sit by a fire with a glass of cool climate wine in the evening. And the house you come home to cost less than $500,000. Number 3. Cootamundra. The birthplace of Bradman, where $405,000 buys a house in a heritage-listed country town. Cootamundra sits in the Riverina region of New South Wales, approximately 380 kilometres southwest of Sydney on the Sydney to Melbourne rail corridor. The median house price is approximately $405,000, with annual growth of just under 7%. For a heritage-listed country town with rail access to both Sydney and Melbourne, a hospital, and a community that has been attracting retirees for decades, this is extraordinary value. The town is best known as the birthplace of Sir Donald Bradman, the greatest cricketer who ever lived, and the Bradman Birthplace Museum is one of the town's principal tourist attractions. But Cootamundra's appeal extends well beyond cricket heritage. The town has tree-lined streets, heritage buildings, vibrant gardens, and a community atmosphere that has been independently assessed as one of the most welcoming in regional NSW. The predominant age group is 60 to 69 years, and households are primarily childless couples, which tells you that Cootamundra has already established itself as a retirement destination among those who have done the research. The cost of living in Cootamundra is remarkably low. The median monthly mortgage repayment is approximately $1,149, which is just over 20% of the median household income. Groceries, utilities, and services are all priced at regional levels rather than metropolitan levels, meaning that the retirement dollar stretches significantly further here than in any capital city. The town sits on the main Southern Railway line, which means you can catch a train to Sydney or Melbourne without driving to an airport, a convenience that many retirees value highly. The Cootamundra Hospital provides essential medical services, and the town has medical practices, pharmacies, and allied health services that cover the basic healthcare needs of the retirement population. For specialist care, Wagga Wagga, the largest inland city in NSW, is approximately 100 kilometres to the south and provides a full range of hospital and specialist services. The Cootamundra Heritage Centre and the annual festivals and community events provide social engagement opportunities that are essential for mental health and well-being in retirement. The wattle, after which the town is named, is the Cootamundra wattle, Acacia baileyana, a spectacularly beautiful flowering tree that covers the town and surrounding countryside in golden yellow blossoms during late winter and early spring. If you have ever driven through Cootamundra in August and seen the hillsides covered in wattle blossom, you will understand immediately why people retire here. The town is beautiful in a way that is deeply, quietly, authentically Australian. Number 2. Inverell. The Sapphire City, where $397,000 buys a house, and the backyard might contain gemstones. Inverell sits in the northern tablelands of New South Wales, approximately 670 kilometres north of Sydney, on the banks of the McIntyre River. It is known as the Sapphire City because the surrounding region is one of the richest sapphire-bearing areas in the world, and fossicking for gemstones remains a popular recreational activity for residents and visitors. The median house price is approximately $397,000, which makes Inverell one of the cheapest towns in NSW with genuine urban infrastructure. For less than $400,000, you can buy a house in a town that has 25 parks, covering over 6% of the total area, a population of approximately 12,000 people, schools, retail centres, a hospital, recreational facilities, and a setting of rolling hills and river flats that is beautiful in every season. The McIntyre River runs through the town, providing riverside walks, fishing spots, and the kind of natural amenity that developers in Sydney suburbs spend billions trying to artificially create. Inverell's economy is diversified across agriculture, mining, tourism, and services, which makes it more resilient than single industry towns. The Sapphire City Festival and the regular fossicking events draw visitors from across the state. The National Transport Museum and the Inverell Art Gallery provide cultural infrastructure that enriches community life. The town is a genuine hub for the surrounding Northern Tablelands region, which means it has services and infrastructure that smaller villages lack. The housing stock in Inverell includes everything from modern brick homes to older weatherboard cottages, all at prices that would be inconceivable in any metropolitan area. A 3-bedroom house in good condition with a decent garden can be purchased for between $300,000 and $450,000. Rental yields are approximately 5.5%, which is significantly higher than the Sydney average, making Inverell attractive to retirees who want to invest in a rental property alongside their own home as part of their retirement income strategy. The climate in Inverell is characterised by warm summers and cool winters, with enough rainfall to keep the countryside green and the gardens productive. The region produces high-quality wool, beef, and grain, which means the local food supply is excellent, and the farmers' markets offer fresh produce at prices that city dwellers would find astonishing. The Inverell District Hospital provides comprehensive medical services, and the town's position as a regional hub means that specialist services visit regularly. For retirees who sold a property in Sydney, the financial arithmetic is transformative. The difference between the Sydney median of $1.24 million and the Inverell median of $397,000 is approximately $843,000. That surplus, invested conservatively at 4%, generates approximately $33,700 per year in passive income. Combined with the age pension of approximately $28,000 per year for a single person, that gives a total retirement income of over $60,000 per year in a town where the cost of living is a fraction of Sydney's. This is not theory, this is mathematics. And the mathematics say that Inverell offers one of the most financially advantageous retirement propositions in the entire state. Number 1. Tumbarumba, the hidden mountain town where the median house price defies belief and the landscape belongs in a postcard. Tumbarumba sits in the foothills of the Snowy Mountains in southern New South Wales, approximately 500 kilometres southwest of Sydney. It is a town that almost nobody outside the immediate region has heard of, which is precisely what makes it number 1 on this list. The median house price in Tumbarumba is approximately $350,000. You read that correctly. $350,000 for a house in a town surrounded by some of the most beautiful mountain scenery in Australia, with a climate that produces world-class cool climate wines, a community that is actively welcoming new residents, and a lifestyle that people who have found it describe in terms that border on evangelical. Tumbarumba is situated at approximately 650 metres above sea level, on the edge of Kosciuszko National Park. The surrounding landscape is a mixture of native forest, pine plantations, farmland, vineyards, and the Tumbarumba Creek that runs through the centre of town. The autumn colours here are legendary, arguably the best in New South Wales. With the mix of deciduous European trees and native eucalyptus creating a palette of gold, amber, crimson, and deep green that draws photographers and painters from across the state. The cool climate wine industry in Tumbarumba is one of the region's great assets. The high elevation and cold winters produce grapes that yield exceptional sparkling wines, Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. Several cellar doors operate in the region, and the wines have won national and international recognition. For retirees who enjoy wine, the idea of living in a wine region where the median house price is $350,000 is essentially a retirement fantasy made real. The town has a population of approximately 1,800 people, a community health centre, a general store, a post office, pubs, cafes, and the kind of community infrastructure that small towns in NSW maintain through volunteer effort and genuine civic pride. The Tumbarumba Creek Walk and the Hume and Hovell walking track, which passes through the region, offer gentle walking options for retirees. The Paddy's River Falls and the surrounding state forests provide more adventurous bushwalking. The Snowy Valleys Council has been actively working to attract new residents to the region, with strategies that include promoting the area's affordability, lifestyle, and natural beauty. The Council's Regional Economic Development Strategy identifies tourism, agriculture, renewable energy, and forestry as key growth sectors, all of which create employment opportunities for younger family members and contribute to the economic sustainability of the town. For retirees who have sold a Sydney property, the financial transformation of moving to Tumbarumba is almost incomprehensible. The difference between the Sydney median of $1.24 million and the Tumbarumba median of $350,000 is approximately $890,000. Invested conservatively, that surplus generates income that, combined with the age pension, provides a retirement income in excess of $60,000 per year in a town where the median mortgage repayment is under $1,000 per month, and the cost of groceries, utilities, and services is at the lowest regional level in the state. Tumbarumba is not for everyone. It is remote by Sydney standards. The nearest major hospital is in Wagga Wagga or Albury, each approximately 2 hours away. The winters are cold, with frost common and occasional snow. The town does not have the cultural institutions of a larger centre, and the nightlife consists entirely of the pub. But for retirees who value natural beauty, clean air, a strong community, affordable living, and the kind of peace that comes from living in a landscape that has not been paved over and subdivided, Tumbarumba is as close to perfect as NSW gets. The Australian Housing and Urban Research Institute released a report based on a survey of more than 2,000 Australians over 55, which found that 82% of retirees in small regional towns were happy with their location, a larger percentage than any other location type across Australia. Tumbarumba embodies the qualities that drive that statistic. The community is small enough that people look out for each other, large enough that you are not isolated, and beautiful enough that the simple act of walking down the main street or driving along a country road becomes a source of daily pleasure rather than daily stress. The Downsizer Contribution Scheme allows Australians aged 55 or over to contribute up to $300,000 per person or $600,000 per couple into superannuation from the proceeds of selling their home. For a Sydney homeowner selling a property worth $1.2 million and buying in Tumbarumba for $350,000, the surplus of approximately $890,000 can be split between a downsizer, super contribution, and direct investment, creating a retirement income stream that would be impossible to achieve without the geographic arbitrage that these hidden towns make possible. The fact that almost nobody has heard of Tumbarumba is not a disadvantage. It is the entire point. This is the hidden haven. This is number one. Hit subscribe or go back to scrolling through property listings in Sydney and wondering how anyone affords to live. We make these videos because this country has places that can genuinely change the quality of your life, and the only thing standing between you and that change is information. Subscribe, and we will keep bringing you the towns, the numbers, and the stories that nobody else is telling you.